Hey people, it is Thursday, July the 14th. The time is 11:20 in the morning, and it's currently 23 degrees Celsius. And I'm here in downtown Toronto, just crossing Adelaide Street East here on Victoria Street. And I'm going to be walking along some downtown streets that are on the narrow side. And this southerly section of Victoria Street is one such street. And there are a number of other rather skinny downtown streets, mainly through this southern half of downtown, through the financial district and parts of the entertainment district. You'll find some narrow streets, and I'll be walking along as many of them as I can think of here. And I rather enjoy walking down narrow streets in the core of the city, since they often provide a bit of a canyon feel to them. It's kind of neat to be hemmed in by tall buildings. Seems to be fairly busy downtown. It is coming up on the lunch hour, and I think Thursday is the day when many people who have a hybrid working model do choose to come into the office. Just crossing King Street. There is an awesome canyon on King Street, but it's not particularly narrow. It's a pretty average street width. Whereas just up ahead here, Colborne St is a pretty skinny street. So Colborne begins at church just over there to the east, and it continues on to Yonge Street, and as you can see, it's a pretty narrow canyon here as well. I like how Commerce Court terminates the view looking along Colborne Street. Yeah, no, that was not my phone. And here's Yonge Street, which is a a 4-lane road, so that's definitely not considered a narrow street by any means.
So it's like, oh great, so now I have
some great buildings along Yonge Street though, on this southern end. But we'll continue along Melinda Street here. This is just a very short stub street. More or less an extension of Colborne Street, really, with a different name. And there's the Commerce Courtyard. And this will spit us back out onto King Street. So we will have to walk along a short stretch of non-narrow streets to get to my next skinny street. And apparently this very short little stretch here is called Jordan Street. Not sure if it merits its own street name. It could just be a continuation of Melinda Street. Back at King.
Jacobs, yeah.
And since we're on the theme of skinny or narrow, check out One King West here. Probably one of the skinniest skyscrapers in the city. Back on non-skinny Yonge Street. We're just going to go up a couple of blocks to Temperance Street. And we'll start making our way west again along Temperance. And it looks like a new Chipotle location is opening here. I remember when there were only 2 Chipotles, I think, in the entire downtown area. And all of a sudden there's plenty more. $7.50. Adelaide again. Not really a skinny street, but an impressive canyon. Probably the best canyon downtown. I think King Street might have to take second place to Adelaide Street now. If we're talking lengthy canyons, that is. Some of the narrow streets that I'll be walking along are short canyons, which are much more canyon-like in feel due to their narrowness. And here's Temperance Street. The awesome Dineen Coffee Company building. Now this block here isn't particularly narrow, but after you cross Bay Street, it suddenly does become one of the skinniest streets in the financial district. And Scotia Plaza is rather narrow on its north and south sides for such a major office building. Of course, it's wide on the east and west side. Here's where Temperance Street continues on the other side of Bay Street. Bay Street is, of course, probably the main, most famous historic canyon in the financial district, but it's not particularly narrow either. Now this is a narrow canyon right here. And it leads to another one, Sheppard Street, just up ahead. To get the best effect of Sheppard Street, I'm just going to head a little bit to the north here, and then we'll swing around. I'm not sure where all this water is dripping from. It's dripping all around me here. Where's it coming from? Oh, there's window washers. I think there's some window washers way up there. And here's the narrow Sheppard Street Canyon, with First Canadian Place terminating this view. And another look down Temperance Street. So we're going to head back to Adelaide and then to York Street, and we'll make our way to the next skinny street on my walk. And in keeping with the narrow theme, here's the big giant head, as I jokingly refer to, otherwise known as Dreaming. That's the actual name of this piece. And I think narrow is the word of the day here. Wide on one side, narrow on the other. Out in the sun now. That's another thing I like about those narrow canyon streets, is they're always quite shady. The sun has a hard time getting into those narrow canyons. We found our next narrow street, Pearl Street. So this will take us into the entertainment district. This one isn't as narrow as some of the others, but compared to the main streets to the financial district, it is somewhat on the skinny side. And I think it gets a little skinnier once you cross over into the entertainment district. At least it seems to look that way. It might just be an optical illusion. And if this was Bizarro Land, then this would be the narrowest street in the downtown. But of course, it's not Bizarro Land, and this is actually the widest street in the downtown. This is University Avenue. And this is the narrower part of University Avenue. Once you head further to the north, it divides and becomes a grand boulevard that used to be 8 lanes, 4 lanes on each side. They've since cut back the number of lanes by adding a bike lane and a parking lane, but it still is one of the narrowest streets to walk across, even if it's not all dedicated to traffic any longer. Simcoe Street. And look at this behemoth here. That's quite something. Looks like a hybrid between a snowmobile and a very large motorcycle. That building is coming along nicely. The cladding is some of the nicest cladding I've seen go up on a downtown building in a long time. That is for a non-commercial building. And here's Duncan Street, although on this end of it I believe it's referred to as Ed Mervish Way. This is another nice new addition to the neighborhood. Although they declined to clad the south-facing side with the red brick, they went with this glassy facade, but the other three sides are the nice red brick, which is always good to see in a city of seemingly countless glass condos. Anything done with brick is a pleasant surprise. And here's John Street. This is definitely on the wide side, but just to the south of here, will take us to our next skinny street. And I suppose that's a skinny structure as well. Wonder how many times I'll have said the word skinny or narrow by the time this video is over. seems like John Street has been under construction for like the last several years. But we can get away from all this because here's our next street, Mercer Street. Although I think we'll be putting up with more construction noise here because this street is almost entirely a construction site with a number of buildings on the rise. 3 skyscrapers side by side. This is a rendering of a condo that's actually in my neighborhood, not really around here at all. That's on the east side. This is the west side. And the third skyscraper there is just starting to make its way skyward now. These two are well underway. They still have some way to go though. All 3 of these buildings will be over 150 meters or 500 feet, which is usually regarded as the cutoff for a true skyscraper. You're getting the impression that downtown Toronto is just one big construction site? Well, I'd say you have the correct impression. There's the Bisha Hotel and Residence. And another new building right next door that's almost completed. And up ahead there's even more.
That's a camera?
Yeah. Yeah. Osmo Pocket. It's called the Osmo Pocket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But when you upload it to your computer, it shows clear.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 4K. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. And here's Peter Street. Or I guess this is Blue Jays Way at this end. Once we cross King Street, it becomes Peter Street. And not particularly narrow, but we'll walk up here to another narrow street. Not a street, that's an alley. I'll leave the alley walk for a separate video if I can. There are some streets that are kind of debatable as to whether they're a street or an alley. They're sometimes labeled as a street when they appear to be more of an alley. thought I had a red light here. It was green all the time.
Just coincidence about sniping you. I didn't pay attention.
It's okay. No worries.
Coincidence though.
Yeah. Here's such an example. Street or alley? I'd say alley. Let's walk down it anyway. It's definitely narrow. Definitely alley. Yo. This is Widmer Street. Back at Adelaide. We seem to be finding ourselves on or crossing Adelaide quite a bit here. I'd say this definitely qualifies as skinny, especially with the construction taking up some of the street here. There's only one lane now. Here's Richmond Street. Another regular width downtown street. And we're back on Wide John Street again. And I believe this is called Nelson Street. It's actually wider than I remember. I was visualizing it to be a bit more narrow. There's an awesome fire escape. I wonder if I could access that one. Oh, it looks like it is accessible. There's a ladder. You can take up to the first set of stairs. Interesting. And here we are at Duncan Street again. I think this person knows where they're going. And I think this is the part of Nelson Street that I was thinking of. It does have the appearance of being more narrow. But not as narrow as I would like. Let's end the video over here on Twilight Lane. This is one of these debatable ones, although a lane is technically not a street, I suppose. It looks a little more narrow if you're looking in this direction. Well, we definitely did find a good number of rather skinny streets to walk along. And I'm going to emerge back onto Richmond Street here, but I hope you enjoyed the walk through the heart of the core of downtown, approaching lunch hour, walking along various streets that are a little bit on the skinny or narrow side. So if you enjoyed this sort of slightly offbeat theme for a walk, let me know in the comments below. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal. And also via my merch store and the recently enabled Super Thanks button right down below. And you can also find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back because, as always, I will continue.